In the mid-1960s, the Pope and bishops throughout the world began to encourage our lay people to take a greater role in the preaching of the gospel. In fulfilling that mission, we were faced with the challenge of financing that work. I was very pleased in 1985 when a group of lay people came forward with a suggestion as to how we could ensure that growth in ministry and mission.
Once we had the framework for the foundation and Bishop Griffin had appointed a board of trustees, we were ready to get started. We had a number of events that helped to raise money for the foundation. We had a gala performance of the Sistine Chapel Choir at the Ohio Theater, which was very successful. We had the performance of the Vienna Choir Boys. We had the Irish tenors. We had a dinner where Al McGuire, who was a former coach of the Marquette basketball team, spoke. Then later on, we had the annual Bishops golf outing, which I think still continues. One of the satisfying things that I was able to do over these years was to work with the attorneys for some donors who were not that familiar with the ins and outs of the estate tax law, and being able to come up with ideas and to help them form the plan that they would adopt.
Early in the 90s, Bill Dink at that time had been chair, and Bill brought the first golf outing to the Diocese of Columbus for the Catholic Foundation. And it was one of the first opportunities that we were able to bring potential donors, to bring people who were not familiar with the foundation together for a social event like a golf outing, and provide us the opportunity for them to understand what the foundation was all about. The Catholic Foundation has provided members of our diocese today a much wider band of opportunities to make their investment, to be able to tailor their needs and their interests with the foundation by either donor-advised funds, charitable gift annuities, etc. But before we focus primarily on endowments. In the late 1990s, the Challenge of Changing Times campaign came about, and it was a very exciting campaign, primarily because of the way it was structured. Just to show the success of the campaign, because of its structure, the goal was $30 million for the campaign, and the campaign reached a level of $42 million. And as the foundation grew, it was very important for us to relocate from 197 East Gay Street to South High Street to give us our own identity, that we became an independent organization of the Diocese of Columbus. One of the most fondest memories I had of the foundation was the fact that we met together with about 18 to 20 people on the board who were very competent people who really had an interest in the Diocese of Columbus and the growth of the Catholic Foundation. And it was just very, very much an honor to be in their presence whenever we had our quarterly meetings.
In the years that I was privileged to serve on the board, we really took the next step, kind of a transition period to what you now see today in the work of the foundation. One of the most exciting things that I was a part of was the building of our strategic plan. And as part of our strategic plan, we realized that we needed to move to the next step of a professional staff to serve our diocese. One of the other things that I remember in those years was that Bishop Campbell did a wonderful job as our shepherd of articulating 4 areas that he wanted the life of the diocese to be focused on: Catholic education, vocations, social services, and in your parishes. It was also in these years of transition that the Lord led us to our present location on East Broad Street, where we found a beautiful building that becomes such a visible sign in the midst of our diocese for the work that all of us do together through the foundation. One of my personal memories was taking a bus trip down to Portsmouth as an entire board. And we actually did the board meeting down there in Portsmouth in the local Catholic high school, where we actually had our board meet down there. And it was so exciting to sort of move the foundation, move one of its board meetings to a place in the diocese where the funds and blessings, the financial blessings of the lay faithful, were so critical to the life of that Catholic community.
The vision of the Catholic Foundation is to ensure a meaningful impact on the needs throughout the diocese. In our first 25 years, we distributed over $50 million to support the needs throughout our diocese. In the last 5 years, we've raised that total to over $85 million. We want to make sure that every family, every child who wants a Catholic education will get one. We want to make sure that the poor are loved and cared for. We want to make sure that if you're called to religious life, or if God is calling you to any vocation, that there's support for that. And lastly, we want to help sustain and grow our parish communities. Today we are a full-service foundation working with families, individuals, companies, parishes, schools, and other ministries to identify the needs and to provide a meaningful support throughout our diocese.